episode number 22. So it's been a very long while since my last episode, episode 21, and it's mostly because I spent a lot of effort and time pushing out Octalis Prime. I did a very successful Kickstarter campaign. We tripled our goals, and it only ran for 9 days, so it was very, very good. And so, but now I'm getting back to at least finishing the last few videos for Beginner's Guide to Gamification. Now, starting episode 25, it'll be called the Intermediate Guide to Gamification, and I'll complete the other 90 episodes based on that too. Onboarding, the second phase in the experience phase of the player's journey. The onboarding is when you teach the users the rules and tools to play the game effectively, where you set the context of the game experience. Through the environment, you train your users to behave in a certain way to understand what they really need. The biggest thing in the onboarding phase is that you have to make your users feel smart. You should never let them feel stupid. If you want them to get onto your journey as quickly as possible, they need to feel comfortable. They can effortlessly do all the desired actions you need them to do. And that's extremely important, because sometimes you have a lot of great features, but you pile them on the onboarding experience, and people drop out. You know, they get confused. They're like, oh, what to do? And I call that the Google Plus problem. Number one thing in the onboarding is Core Drive 2 development accomplishment. You want to let your users feel smart. And make sure there's a step-by-step tutorial. There are the glowing choices and overlay that guides them through the desired behavior, the activity loop. One thing that's really important to look into is to figure out where your first major win state is. So users are always figuring out what they're giving and what they're taking, you know, and when a company takes too much before it gives value to users, that's where they drop out. I don't know if you've seen situations where you download an app because your friend said it's amazing, and you download it, and the first thing it asks you to do is to register, and you're like, eh, whatever, I don't care. That's because the app is asking you to give them stuff without giving you anything back. And when that happens, usually players drop out. Ah, hey. So the first major win state is when the user first says, wow, this product is awesome. And so you want to define where is your first major win state, and then count exactly how many minutes does it take for the user to get to the first major win state, because every single second before that, you're seeing dropout. Startups have to be very realistic about what your first major win state is. Your first major win state is not when the user creates a user profile. You know, you do that everywhere. It's not when you upload a photo. Maybe 20 years ago, that's like a major win state. It's like, wow, my picture's actually on a screen. But nowadays you can do that anywhere, so that's not a first major win state. Even for something like Pandora. Pandora's first major win state is not when you enter your first song, because you can do that anywhere. It's not even when you hear your first song, because you can hear songs in a lot of other platforms. It's usually 3 to 5 songs later where you realize, hey, every single song the user really likes it, and maybe 1 or 2 of those songs they've never heard of before, but they also really like it. And that's when they say, wow, Pandora's really cool. And that's why they would come back to Pandora. Always remember your first major win state. Remember we talked about Battle Camp in an earlier episode. Now what Battle Camp does is that when you first download the game, when you first play start, all you see is you see yourself standing there and a huge monster behind you. Someone says, watch out, there's a huge monster behind you. And then you enter a battle scene, and that's the onboarding tutorial, you know, swipe to attack, whatnot. And once you've taken down this epic monster, the guy says, hey, you seem to be from out of town. What's your name? And that's when you enter your name. See, you don't even know your name yet, and you are taking down a huge monster. And then it says, what's your gender? See, you don't even have a gender yet, and you're taking down this huge monster. And this is because the game wants you to hit that first major win state and feel how epic the game is, how amazing the gameplay can be, before it wants you to give them more information, give you stuff. So you want to make sure that when you get your users to invite their friends, it's after the first major win state, because that's when they feel the most accomplished. That's when they'll actually share, because everything before that, that's harassment, and you don't want to harass your users. Yep, and so you do all of that, and you build a little bit of scarcity too. You want to constantly dangle what they can or can't have yet. Start building some anticipation of the experience, that, you know, something amazing is about to happen. You're dangling some exciting things right in the onboarding phase, so users don't feel like they've seen everything. It's like, oh wow, here's a feature that's useful, but it's locked. You have to do this to unlock it. Oh, here are other things to do to unlock it. So now user feels like, hey, I want to at least see that. I at least want to see what happens next. I at least want to see what happens when I unlock the power. In the onboarding, you don't want as much loss and avoidance, but maybe sometimes you can have a hint of loss and avoidance at the beginning, making people feel like, hey, there is some minor consequences when when they don't do the desired action, they fail to do it. And so, like Farmville at the beginning, they just tell you, hey, if you don't get your crops, you'll lose the crops if you don't harvest it in time. And so people feel like, oh, I don't want that to happen again. And so they become pretty good at it. Sometimes in the case of enterprise B2B software, people are motivated by loss and avoidance. Oh, my boss told me to use this software product and I don't want to lose my job, so I'm going to use it. Again, Black Hat gamification, very powerful in driving motivation behavior, but ultimately not the best form of long-term engagement. For the onboarding phase, you want to implement that CoreDrive 1 Epic Meaning and Calling to bring the narrative, tell them why they should participate, not just how. And you want to make the user feel like it's a new beginning of something epic, a great journey, something that's amazing that's about to happen. It's nothing like anything you've ever seen before. So, you know, it's like it just comes out of nowhere, and it's exciting. It's different. It's not your average experience. And when that happens, users are excited, right? There's CoreDrive 7 Unpredictable Curiosity, there's Epic Meaning and Calling, and eventually the users feel super excited because there's just a huge huge experience behind me, I guess. But it's a pretty large tree, actually. Whoa, that just grew out of me. The most difficult hard drive to implement in the onboarding phase is the CoreDrive 3 Empowerment of Creativity and Feedback. It's a little bit hard to use CoreDrive 3 at that point because the whole point of onboarding is to make it seem very simple, make people feel smart. It's hard to get people to really use their creativity, do a lot of things, and not be overwhelmed. So, but you still want to give them a little bit of choice. You want to make them feel like they have options. There's more than one thing they can do. So they're like, oh, I'm choosing my character. I'm naming my profile. I'm being creative somehow, some way, and building up CoreDrive 4 ownership and possession. You want to see them accumulating a little bit of things throughout that process. Now that we learned all about the onboarding phase of the 4 experience phases, the next episode we're going to talk about scaffolding, we're going to talk about endgame, and then, like I said, we will be starting the premium membership system I call Octalysis Prime. Oh, and I think earlier I talked about how I wanted to lose a certain weight by this goal. Actually, throughout the year I did hit my goal, but also my gym trainer said that my issue with my spinal pain is because of my muscles aren't strong. I need to build more muscle weight. So I had a few workout programs that I explained in Octalysis Prime, a little bit gamified, and yeah, I did hit my weight, and then I think I gained some back, but I also gained a lot more muscle weight. So you know, it was considered successful. Ha! This is Yu Kai Chao, and I will see you guys